All right, guys, welcome back to fearlessflipping.com. I am your host, Eric Stark, here to go over a exceptionally large assignment deal that Steve and I did. Um, there's just some amazing content that you are going to be learning throughout this, and ultimately one of them is how we found out about the deal, and why it's important never to stop at the first sign of resistance. Before I jump into some juicy details, guys, I would advise you to stick around for this whole thing. This is a exceptional wholesale deal that we did. The money even turned out to be, a decent bonus in this case. But just the learning lessons and the tenacity it takes to be able to do this business and deals like this, I'm going to unfold and teach all of it to you in the next, roughly 45 minutes to try to get this thing done or less. So before I do, I want to throw out a little bit of a disclaimer there. You guys should know the names, addresses, and private information in this case study have been protected in order to protect our business. The information provided is actual and verifiable. You may contact our offices privately at any time you would like to see and verify the credibility of this case study. In no way will we ever jeopardize the integrity of our business model, sellers, buyers, lenders, and detailed information that could possibly reveal the incredible secrets we have uncovered after doing nearly 300 real estate transactions. Long as you are okay with that, let's carry on. This property that you're looking at, this little old farmhouse off to the left, it might not look like much, but this property is one of the last of a dying breed that is in a absolutely insane market where we're at right now in our business. So we sold the property for $115,000, sold it on May 9th, 2012, got it under contract for $65,000 on May 9th, 2000. Well, we never really purchased it. We did an assignment. But let me go over the details just so I can explain and unfold all this in front of you. Purchase price, we got under contract at $65,000, sold it the same day that we were supposed to buy it, which is basically just an assignment. Zero rehab cost, zero holding cost, $50,000 in actual profit. That was ours. The only thing that came out of that $50,000 was 76 cents, which is what it cost us to send the envelope, the letter, and the stamp to the owner of this property. It didn't come from a list. It was actually a referral property. I see a lot of people that are putting their profits out there and they're actually showing their payoffs included and all these different things. Nothing came out of this $50,000 except less than $1 for the marketing cost to get this done. So again, guys, when I give you guys these figures, I want to let you know this stuff is so actual. I am not a person doing internet marketers math. I see people that sell properties and make claims and they make $20,000 and the numbers just don't add up. We made $50,000 on this property, and the only expense that we had out of it, we didn't have to pay no insurance, no closing costs, nothing. We paid less than $1 for this person to know about who we are and what our services are. Time from contract to close was 60 days. I know a lot of people, when they put things out there, they say, in one day I made 50 grand. That's just not the reality, guys. I had to meet with this seller, quite a few times. We had lunch. We became good friends. Guys, one thing I want you to know is that when I meet with my market, my sellers, I am not only there for the property. I am there to make lifelong friends. I go there with every intention that I want to buy your property. I'm here to give you a solution to your problem. Hopefully, you do a deal with me. You become a lender. You get involved in what we do. You help, put a testimonial out there to share the positive experience. I am there for more than just the money, guys. So, when I meet with my sellers multiple times, it's because I do it out of choice. I love to be around my sellers. That's my market. That's my business. That's my clientele. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure I have more than just monetary compensation coming to me in life. It is not all about the money. The relationships are very, very crucial factors into happiness and success. So time from contract to close was right around 60 days. I think it was just under maybe 57 or 58 days that we got the property under contract. Now, the marketing source for this property was a referral, and I have to spend time and explain the situation so you understand how important it is to never stop at the first sign of resistance. We had been marketing to a couple in a specific area where they had a property that we wanted to buy, and I think it was the second letter that we sent out, and I received actually I was just walking into my office one day and my assistant Karen says, "Hey, I just got this voicemail from a lady. She owns this property over here, and she just left a voicemail and said take us off our, she sounded pretty mad. So I'm just going to take her off the list. She was pretty adamant. She's never going to sell the property. Just take me off the list." And I end up listening to this voicemail, and I am not kidding. It is like a 1 minute long voicemail that like sums up, like a history about who she is and, all these different things. And at the end of that voicemail, I said, "Karen, get this lady on the phone. She needs somebody to talk to." She was an older lady, and I could just tell by leaving a 1 minute long voicemail and the things that she revealed on that call, she is looking for somebody to get together and talk to. Picked up the phone, got her on the call. I sat with her and talked to her for about 20 minutes, and at the end of that conversation, I was on my way out my office to go meet with her at her house and start building a relationship. She called and told us to take us off the list. I get there, and I start talking to this lady, and her husband is sitting in the room next to us, and when he finds out that, we buy and sell real estate for a living, his ears perk up and he comes and sits in the living room with us. Has his wife make tea. We start sitting down and talking. This guy used to be the man back in the 70s and 80s. He had a very large construction crew. He did very, very exclusive properties for some very, very well-known people. People like Lee Iacocca, Fred Erb, a lot of very, very wealthy GM executives and engineers. I mean, he did a lot of business. So he was essentially Steve and I back in his heyday. Well, it turns out this guy used to, he's flipped hundreds of properties just like we have. He used to own 90 rental properties. He still owns a select few in the area. It turns out to this day, this referral that made us 50 grand came from this gentleman. He's lent us money on 2 of our deals, and we bought that building that they said they would never sell. So guys, for somebody that calls your office and says, take me off your list, if you're not seeing the unseen and hearing the unheard, pick up that phone and call these people back and see if there's something that they possibly missed about your, what your intentions are. There's nothing wrong about what we do as long as you go through, go into it with a good heart and you have transparency and let people see that. It would have never happened if Karen would have just said, "You know what? I'm not even going to tell Eric about this. I'm just gonna delete them off. I'm just going to delete these people off the list." Don't stop at the first signs of resistance, guys. You have to get out there and hear the unheard, and and absolutely make sure that you're addressing all the things that were there. So some of the relationships that we pulled out of the deal, the situation with this property is actually kind of a sad one. I was dealing with the father of the property, and keep in mind this was a referral that once this gentleman that I had met, him and his wife. I had called him one day to get together for lunch, and he said, "Hey, I want you to check out 2 properties." So I drove by him. I sent letters out that day. I get a call back from this gentleman here, and I go and meet with the father whose son drank himself to death in the property. So it was very, very painful for this father. He didn't want to talk about the property. He never wanted to go to it again. One of his buddies, the son's buddies, was living in the property kind of as a tenant, watching the place until it sold. And when I walked through the property, to look at it and start assessing it, thinking it was going to be a flip and a remodel project for us, I got the whole history about, the father and the son and the relationship, and I was really able to dig deep into why there was so much pain for, the father to be involved in this transaction. He just wanted it out of his life. Money was not a concern. He owns a very, very large business right down the street. He's not worried about this money at all. He just wanted this property out of his life. Special skills guy is just to listen. I don't even want to call it negotiation at this point because I'm building a friend, I'm earning trust, I'm finding out what these sellers need, and I'm providing them with a solution that's fair and honest to everybody. And obviously everybody believes that it's fair and honest or else it would never get to the closing table. So, I spent a lot of time with this guy because he actually intrigued me. The business that he has is one of very few that is still up and operating today. And when he kept using this word every time I met with him, he's like, I was a pioneer in my industry. I did things that nobody else would do. And I was just so intrigued by this gentleman because he's doing the unaccomplishable just like Steve and I are doing in our business every single day. So I met with this gentleman anytime I was in the area. I would go sit with him and have lunch or have a cup of coffee or a pop in his office and just hang out. We'd get together for lunch. We would go look at some of the projects that we were doing. I spent a lot of time with Ed making sure, that he really knew exactly what was going on, with the property, but first and foremost that he had a friend who was going to help him figure all this out. He didn't understand the process of what's got to go on with the attorney and the paperwork. We walked him through all of that. We've done many scenarios where, we've helped, family members sort out grieving, situations and things like that. And it was just a real win-win for me on my end because his satisfaction was getting this property out of his life and not ever having to visit it again. And believe it or not, we keep in such good contact with our sellers that when a project moved on to its next phase of being remodeled, or in this case, it was bought by a builder, the house was demolished and a new one is actually being built there. So when Ed drove by the property and seen that it was gone, it was actually a relief for him, guys. If you can really picture that there is so much, I can't say bitterness, but the word isn't grabbing me right now, but there was some level of frustration with this gentleman about the house itself. And when he drove by and seen that it was literally gone, bulldozed, a hole in the ground, it was actually a big sign of relief for him. The guy called me thrilled that he never had to look at that property again. So obviously you can tell that this was a private seller deal. There was no bank involved. The property was free and clear. I dealt directly with Ed and his CPA, who was pretty much handling the whole situation with the property, who worked in his office full time with him. So seller negotiation tactic on this one was, give the seller what they want. What exactly are you trying to accomplish here? And one thing Ed kept joking with me about is, how fast do I get my money? How fast does these things typically take? And I said, the only thing hanging us up right now is, we have one of Paul's friends who's living in there, and we don't want to kick him out on the streets, but we also do have to move forward in a timely fashion. So we helped Paul find another property. He moved out. And, we kept joking with Ed that, you're going to have this much money on this much date as long as Paul moves out in a timely fashion. So, it really, really worked well for us to just sit down and say, Ed, what do you got to have here? And I'm going to explain a little bit different as far as how that came about. Actually, I can do it right here because, some of the unique details, and I'll explain all this in one package, the contract strategy, the inspection process, the details. I had met with Ed numerous times before we ever really got to the point of me giving him an offer. The first time I went and met with him, I went and, listened to the situation. He said he didn't want to make a move because he wanted me to talk to the attorney and see if he had the authority to sell. He wanted to make sure that there were no back tax liens on the property, and we had our title company take care of all of this with him. So the day that I'm going to meet with the seller, I have built excellent relationships with some of the best builders around town. And this is in an area where this property actually sat on a double lot in a prime subdivision of a specific marketplace. Old property, needs so much in repairs. I just knew if we tried to sell this thing to a rehabber, they're going to beat us up on price because the property was an old farmhouse. The floors were buckled and needed so much repairs. I just knew this was going to sell to a builder. It was surrounded by new construction properties. So I contacted one of my builders, sent him a text message. I said, hey, drive by this address. Give me your best price. I don't want to have to call your competition. I like you. We work well together. Just go over there and give me an offer on what you'd be willing to pay. Within 7 minutes, I had a text message back from this builder that said, I'll give you guys $105,000 for the property. So I go over there and, I'm sitting with Ed and I'm going over the details. I got a contract. I'm explaining it all to him. I said, Ed, the only thing missing here is a price. There's no inspection. There's no contingencies for us having to provide the money. There's no bank loans needed. There's nothing that is getting in the way from me giving you whatever amount of money you decide to put in this little area right here. Ed, what is it going to take? You know, and we went through a couple of different scenarios where, you know, one of the builders who built one of the properties next door offered him a certain amount, you know, a while back, and, you know, it was a different marketplace then, and, you know, all these different things. And I just said, Ed, what's it going to take? You tell me how much money you would like to see put down right here. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I'm thinking, you know, he's a very slow talking gentleman. He's very calculated, very cool, calm, and collective. He said, oh, I don't know. Probably somewhere around 60, 70,000. I said, why don't we just call it dead center and call it 65, Ed? He stood up. He looked out his window. He reached across the table and he shook my hand. And he said, we have a deal, son. And I truly felt that when he said that to me, guys, that there was an essence that I was playing a role in his life that was partially painful, but mostly relieving for him to look across the table and see a man who reminded himself of him that was solving a situation on something that he did not want to deal with in life. It gave me such a sense of accomplishment. I will never, ever forget it for the rest of my life. It's the reason why me and Ed still talk and get together for lunch once a month, every single month. It's going to happen for the rest of our lives until this gentleman passes on, because I really, really feel that much of a connection with this gentleman. So knowing that I got the property under contract at $65,000, I actually went back and I didn't even say nothing to Steve about it. So Steve assumed that I never even got the deal under contract. He's kind of bummed out. Next day he calls me and he said, you know, that it sucks that you didn't get that property under contract, because I got two builders that, you know, will give us somewhere around the $120,000. But Steve said he wanted to close on it, you know, rehab the one property, break off the second lot, sell that for an additional amount. You know, I'm just thinking, I'm wholesaling this thing. I'm not dealing with this one. I don't want to go through all these building and separating lots and, you know, wait all this time and this, that, yada, yada. So I text this builder back and I say, listen, my business partner is going to want to keep the property. If you give me 115, it's a done deal. He responded back and said, done. Where do you want the check? Please, let's not waste any time on this. I just want to get it done. And I relayed that information to Steve, and it told me that if somebody is that anxious to unquestionably raise their price 10 grand in a matter of a minute and bring me an earnest money deposit right now, it tells me that we have a deal that nobody else was able to present this gentleman. So no inspection. We lined everything up. I explained it to the buyer. You're buying my rights to this contract. He looked at it, said, you guys are going to make $50,000 on an assignment fee. No problem. Who do I make the check out to? So these are the kind of deals that I absolutely love, because, you know, we helped the seller. The builder was fanatical about the deal. We made some excellent money that allowed us to buy a wonderful property in town. Again, for this property, guys, we didn't have to fund anything. We never closed on it. I did use a actual purchase agreement with the and or assigns option in there. So it wasn't just an option agreement. This was an actual purchase agreement for us to buy at $65,000. Eric Stark and or assigns. We exercised the option to use the and or assigns. Got a $50,000 fee, tied it up with $1,000 earnest money, got $2,000 earnest money from our buyer. So we had $1,000 down at our title company. They give us our $1,000 back plus an additional $1,000 in a sign of good faith. Probably should have been more like $5,000, but we had a lot of trust with this guy, so we weren't too concerned about it. He's building more properties around town than anybody. How do you estimate your repairs? You know, guys, I'm not going to go too much into this one because it was an assignment deal, but one thing I do want to touch base on is there was one other gentleman that I called who was a rehabber, and when we got the property under contract for 65, this rehabber offered me 72. And the reason that a builder is able to come through and give me $50,000 to step aside on a property like this is because he created a new market. He's not subject to the old house and the old square footage. He's essentially creating a new market by putting a brand new construction, top of the line, custom built home with every luxury feature you could ever think. He is not subject to the old world of appraisals where he's really creating a new marketplace for the territory. He knows what houses sell price per square foot when they're new construction. He knows what they sell price per square foot when they're old existing houses that are updated. He's a builder. He comes from a builder family, and that's just what he does. That's his expertise. I found this gentleman by driving around. I spoke to one of his agents. He's buying a lot in town. He's actually an exceptional gentleman. He had a very large 4th of July party that he invited us out to. I mean, the guy lives a very, very awesome lifestyle, and we just connect and work with this gentleman very, very well. So there's not a lot to talk about as far as the rehab and repairs because the property is just essentially a hole in the ground, and it's going to be a new construction property that's going to take up the whole double lot. So they got a premium price from their buyer because instead of building a 1,900 square foot home on a 45-foot lot, they actually got a 90-foot lot that they were able to put a 3,200 square foot home on. So this guy got a premium price, and I probably could have got more money. I think that if I were to close on this property and listed it, I probably could have walked away with about probably $140,000 sale when everything was done. So we could have made possibly 25, 35 grand more when everything was said and done. But ultimately, guys, it's not my strategy to close on properties and have to wait for my money. My main focus in our business is finding those in-demand rental properties and getting seller finance so opportunities like this can fund those kind of deals. Where do I focus my marketing on as far as, selling the properties? I want to know who's buying now. When I get those monthly reports, we send postcards to every single person who's bought more than one property, even if I already know you. If I know you and we've met and we haven't done business yet, I'm still going to do everything I can to send a 75-cent postcard out to you to let you know that we're still buying properties in our marketplace, or still selling properties in our marketplace, and hopefully you guys should be buying from us. I really, really focus on who's doing things now, not the people who just stand around and talk big business but never ever get back to you or respond to any of your phone calls or text message or the opportunities that you provide them. What's working in our marketing right now, believe it or not, guys, I see a lot of people who are doing marketing right now. My presentation when I go and meet with my sellers is I know all the people that are marketing to buy your property. I know all the bandit signs. I know the people sending letters. I know the people putting bandit signs and Craigslist ads and, who are networked into people to let them know that they're buying. And I just absolutely crushed a gentleman who kind of threw it in our face that he had to control over a certain territory. And I did exactly what I had explained on the option contract where he's running around trying to get everything under option. And when I meet with these sellers and I let him know that option is just giving him the ability to sell, not the he's giving him the ability to buy, not the obligation to buy. And when I explained to them that I have a purchase agreement and it allows me to say that I'm buying your property, nobody else, I am buying it. What is working in our marketing and in our market right now is the ability to perform on what you say. Everybody is making the claim, walking out of seminars and webinars saying, I have the ability to buy properties, but they have no idea how to do a purchase agreement. They have no idea how to put an earnest money down. They have no idea how to explain to a seller, exactly how the process goes. You have to have the ability to perform and make your seller feel confident that you are going to perform on this thing and give them their money. If not, these people start packing, they get ready to move, only to find out that you disappointed them and that you can't close. All of our marketing is done in our office. We tried outsourcing it to, the companies that say they can do everything for you and, everything. They suck, guys. I don't mean to be, very harsh and brutal. If it's out there and makes a claim that it can help my business, I promise you I've spent money on it. I'm very serious and genuine about our real estate business. We're not talking widgets. We're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in opportunity. There's no way that I'm going to leave it into somebody that I cannot control and watch to make sure that my letters are going out the way that I need to. Marketing is what makes our business run the way it does. We oversee and watch every aspect and control every aspect of our business. Everybody always asks me, again, when I go on these appointments with people, why am I here? Why am I the one standing in front of you? And the reason that I get more than anything else is because I answer my phone. Everybody's got marketing out there that I do this, but then it goes to some pre-recorded line that filters and screen. Don't get me wrong, guys. I have my share of marketing campaigns that, most people will never be able to access me, but there are certain marketing campaigns that will only come to my cell phone live. Never go to a pre-screen, pre-recording. I know to the virtual world that doesn't sound sexy, but that's probably why we're doing very, very large deals and everybody's talking about living a very good lifestyle. So, guys, I don't say this to brag, but I want you to be very, very well informed. I want you to arm yourself and take this business very, very seriously, that you're not, you're not being led down some rabbit trail thinking that, don't get me wrong, I do a lot of virtual deals, and I've bought and flipped houses I've never seen, and I've been in Florida driving a convertible down the expressway, and I've flipped a property without. I've done it, guys. It's all great, but those are few and far between. They're small paydays. You'll never retire off of it, and it's ultimately not going to get you where you need to do as far as your investing goals. So, moving on to the highlights of this deal. What made this a good deal again is it's a very, very minimal or zero risk kind of deal where we were not exposed. We had to put up, just an earnest money on this thing to get it done. Buyer absolutely did not care we were making $50,000, and that told me that he had a very large back end as well. And I love that, guys. One of the things that frustrates me, I will absolutely cut a buyer off if you care how much money I made. If you give me your price and you're comfortable with your number, I don't care if I bought that property for $1 or $1 less than I'm selling it to you for. Most people just want to see everybody take the short end of the stick. Get them people away from me. I do not want them people around my business. They're snakes. They'll do anything they can to find out who you are, what you do, and how you do it, and try to one-up you on everything. I want them people away from me. I want more buyers like this guy that say, I'm glad to give you guys $50,000 a pop. Keep them coming. $50,000 in cash. I love it. Relationships that we built from this deal. It was a new builder buyer. We've met this guy multiple times, but this was the first deal that we had actually done with this gentleman. And I loved it because from the time that I text him to the time that I received a commitment was less than 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. This guy knew an opportunity when he seed one. He told me it's a done deal over a text message. I had my office send everything over to his agent who represented him on this. She even cut her commission on the buy side just to get this deal done because she knew she was going to get the listing on the sell side. So there was quite a few sacrifices that people made. When I told the buyer that he had to pay all the closing costs, he wasn't too crazy about it because he actually had to pay it on the full $115,000, not the full $50,000. But the agent cut her cost. The seller will be a possible lender. He turned into a great friend of ours. He's a pioneer in his business. Guys, I love being around mavericks and pioneers where they can teach me new things about life and business and all these great things that us entrepreneurs do. I absolutely love the exchange of relationships I get from dealing with some of these sellers, especially somebody who's very affluent like this gentleman was. How this property helped our overall objective for investing. Again, fast cash and a large down payment for a long-term A+ in-demand located building. It allowed us to continue doing our marketing, pay some office bills, stick a little bit of pocket change in Stephen and I's pocket. And it ultimately allowed us to go out and buy one more long-term cash flowing property that really, really works for the long haul. So a great learning lesson that came from this deal. I can't stress this enough. I could talk for hours and hours and probably, late into the evening. Where most people stop is where we just get started. And what I mean by that, guys, is this all came from a lady who called our office to say, take me off your list. If I would have never called that lady back, I would have never went and had that meeting with her. I would have never met her husband. I would have never established a relationship. I would have never built trust. I would have never received a phone call for a lead that turned into a $50,000 sale. I would have never created a lending opportunity on 2 different properties that this couple lent us on. I would have never bought a building that they have that is in one of the most well-located, in-demand parts of town you could ever get. It doesn't get any closer than this building. All came from us getting started where most people stop. Most people would have kicked them people off their list, never mailed them again. We do not look at it that way. We see the unseen and hear the unheard. Be hands-on. Guys, if you're the person that think you would have picked up this phone and got this deal closed without meeting this gentleman, I'm gonna win every time, guys. That's all I can say. One of the greatest marketing things that I've ever heard somebody say was actually from a gentleman named Ralph Roberts. You can say what you like about this guy. I still, put a lot of things into account when I hear about it. But I remember one night when I was listening to Ralph Roberts speak, he gave away a marketing tip that changed my life. And he said, you know why I'll give this away for free? Because not one of you in here will go to your office and do it tomorrow. And that's exactly what I mean, guys. I can tell you guys that you have to be in the field. You got to be on the streets. You got to be personal with your sellers. You can still pop off deals and live whatever. But I'm passionate. Maybe it's just me. I like being in the field. I like looking at my projects. I like dealing with the sellers, and I also like to get back to living a good life that's only going to come through wholesaling houses for fast cash and rolling over those profits into in-demand, well-located buildings. A lot of things that I learned from this deal is the speed of trust. With that builder, the guy trusted that I was sending him a good deal, and within 15 minutes got back to me and told me that we have a deal together. The speed of trust that when I send somebody something, that is what I'm looking for in my business. I would rather have the one person that goes out there and might pay me a couple bucks less, but gives me a commitment in less than 1 day, than the guy that takes, that doesn't do his paperwork properly and doesn't put down an EMD, but he'll pay me more money, but he'll never commit. What good does it do when you have a buyer that says, I'll pay you 10 grand more than everybody else, but he never puts down an earnest money or anything like that? So show me the money. Here it is in front of you. This cannot lie. $50,000 assignment fee made out to our company. No expenses came out of this except a couple bucks for $1 for marketing to this person. Very, very minimal. It was not a huge instance. We didn't even have to buy a list for this. It came from a referral. I did give the gentleman that gave us the referral for this lead a handful, and I'm not going to tell you how much, but we gave this gentleman a handful of cash over lunch. You would have thought this guy was 21 years old flipping properties again. The smile that he had on his face when we handed him a thick envelope of $100 bills in his hand over lunch. It was funny because the way we played it out, we waited till the bill came. We pulled out a stack of cash and we dropped it on the table and we said, this one's on you today. And he ended up buying us lunch. But, the guy we brought him back into the game, guys. We gave him youth. That was probably one of the better things in this deal, was bringing that gentleman a handful of cash, getting him back into the game again. As you can see, here's me and my good buddy Ed going to our favorite place where we like to have subs at. The guy's just a phenomenal person. We get together from time to time and have lunch and share stories and find out what's going on in his business and let him know what's going on. And it's only a matter of time before I think he's going to be lending to us on some of our deals. So action steps and highlights. Learn to love what others will not tolerate. This was a quote that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. It was given to me by one of my mentors, Mr. Greg Pinio. This guy has given me a new set of glasses for investing that nobody's ever been able to strike up in me. This guy's been able to put a passion in my ass for finding deals and building a better well system than anything I've ever seen. And it's hands-on, guys. There's nothing textbook about what this gentleman teaches me. Spend time with your sellers when you're getting out there. This is something that, Pinio changed my whole mentality when I started getting involved with him and his one-on-one mentoring is, spend the time in the field, answer your phone, and drop everything when it's showtime. When you get that call and somebody's ready to strike now, it sucks, guys, but I can't tell you how many things we really do sacrifice. We could be ready to go to dinner with my family, and I know a lot of people disagree with this sometimes, but there are times when I've had to put off, vacations and trips and time away with my family to do these really big deals and get these things closed because we care about it that much. So, guys, again, there's so many details that went into this deal, and I think one of the biggest parts is, don't stop at the first sign of resistance. Call those unwanting calls back. Make sure you're doing what it takes. Build trust with your buyers, trust with your sellers. Perform on what you say you're going to do. Be in it for more than just the money, guys. Maybe that's the biggest secret that a lot of people don't see, is that, if you're in it for the money, people will see that right up front. But I look forward to your feedback, your exchanges, your comments, everything you guys want to know about these about these deals that we're doing. It is all available to you. These are free of charge. These are just a huge bonus to what me and Steve offer out there. There's no better way to learn than to suck these things up. But if you guys are real serious, you want to get involved, contact Steve and I about getting involved in some personal one-on-one coaching. I look forward to your comments. If you have any questions, if you need to verify anything, post everything below. We do not leave this up to a virtual assistant to run our internet business. We handle all of this stuff personally. We're here for your guys' success. We're still doing deals in the field every single day. Connect with us on Facebook. Get with us at Fearless Flipping. Join our buyers list at Michigan Property Superstore, and just get connected, guys. We look forward. Take action, and we look forward to hearing from you. Eric Stark, Steve Mills, fearlessflipping.com. We look forward to the exchange. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you got some great content. I'll see you on the next flip.